I've been through several week-long power outages here in Oklahoma, and I'd like to share with you what I've learned about that to get through it. So your choices are going to be a 110 volt generator or a 220 volt generator, and there's the pros and cons. This generator here uses about a gallon and a half per day, whereas this generator here, which is 220, consumes several gallons per hour. So this generator will run the whole house, but this generator will run for a long time on limited fuel supply. So I actually keep both generators, because when I want to run the whole house, this is a 50 amp generator and I can run the whole house with it, air conditioning and everything. But if I'm running into a situation like I did during the recent storm, it was hard to find fuel. So the essentials in the house can be run off 110 volt. And the essentials are the refrigerator and the freezer, because there's a lot of expensive food in there. The refrigerator is about 750 watts. The freezer is about 750 watts. So I'm up to 1500 watts with a 2000 watt capacity generator. And then I can run some LED lights and maybe even the TV off of that. And if you run the generator, you don't have to run the refrigerators all day long on it. Some other tips I have to offer you is make sure you get a 12 gauge extension cord. 12 gauge, so you have minimal losses, and that way you can plug into one of the two outlets here and get a triple connector so you can run in extra appliances. Make sure that you get a locking cable, because you don't want to run this inside your garage and people may want to steal it. So find a tree or a metal clothesline pole to secure this to out in your backyard. And then if you want to take the risk of plugging this into your wall outlet, you have to make yourself a cable. Now some people are going to scream about this, but basically what it is it's female on both sides, so that I can effectively plug in to the generator, and then somewhere inside I'll find an outlet to plug this in. And notice what I've written on here is turn off the main. I have it written on here all over the place, because you absolutely must turn off the main circuit breaker or you're going to shock the linemen that are trying to repair your circuit. Here I've got a thicker one than this one's 14 gauge, and I've upgraded it to a 12 gauge here, and you can see that it is female on both ends, 12 gauge, three wire. Now over here, your choices with 220 volt is you either need to get a 30 amp or a 50 amp generator. A 30 amp can run an awful lot of stuff in your house, and a 50 amp in my case can even run the air conditioning, and the trade-off there is fuel consumption. This particular generator has 3 different power outputs, and it's based on the density of the fuel, liquid versus gas, and then natural gas. If you put liquid gas in here, it'll generate about 7,500 running watts. But if you hook up a propane tank, it drops down. And then if you hook it up to natural gas, it drops even further. But the benefit here is if there's a storm, chances are your natural gas lines probably are still going to be working, because they won't be damaged by fallen trees and stuff. But it might be difficult for you to go out and find LPG or gasoline. So do that. And then what I did for this, for my 30 amp generator, I also built a cable that is female on both sides, and it's about 25 feet long, so I can have the generator outside the house. And this I plug into my dryer outlet, and I disconnect the dryer. I plug this in because my dryer, my house is sold, it only had 3 wire, and I only have 3 wires in here joined. But the generator is 4 wire. You can look on the internet on how to wire this up to the proper colors. But so this is a 30 amp cable, and I can plug it right into the dryer. And once again, you absolutely must trip the main breaker to your house when you do that. I recommend that you not only do that, but I recommend that you remove the power meter from the house, and then you put several signs on the front of your house that says power meter removed for lineman safety. And the reason for that is the linemen will be coming through your neighborhood to restore power, and if they hear a generator running, they're not going to turn the power on to the entire neighborhood, because they need to know if your generator is backfeeding this power into the power grid. They'll get shocked. And so they'll be walking through the neighborhood, and if you have a sign on the front of the house that says power meter removed for lineman safety, then they're going to go, okay, this person knows what they're doing, and they'll do a safety check with you. Now, I'm not an electrician, but in an emergency situation like that, they're going to appreciate it. So back to the different choices. So 30 amp, you can run most of the stuff in the house. 50 amp, you're going to have a special cable made where you basically go straight, after you remove the power meter, you run the 50 amp cable straight into the house side in the power meter cabinet temporarily. And you really need to know what you're doing to do that, but those are the choices. Now, for the gasoline, I recommend you go with premium, no ethanol fuel if you can find it. And if you can't find it, take whatever you can to run your generator, but the last tank of fuel that you run through your generator should be premium, no ethanol. And I also recommend that you get some funnels, one for oil, one for gas. And but back to the premium, no ethanol. The reason why you should run this through last is ethanol comes from corn, and it degrades over time into a sugar. And that sugar can gum up your fuel system, specifically the tiny little ports in your carburetor. So by running your last tank of gas, when the power is restored, run your generator with no ethanol fuel to purge the ethanol fuel out of your system. And take it even a step further, run it with no ethanol fuel and run the generator until it's out of fuel. That way you've got all of the ethanol out of the system, and it won't gum up your fuel system. It cost me $400 to clear out a clogged up generator system on this generator. You know, this generator cost me $1,200 during a severe power outage. I'm glad I spent every penny on it, but I stored this generator for about 2 or 3 years and never ran it. And then when I tried to fire it up, it wouldn't run because it was so clogged up with ethanol. And I took it to the Honda shop, and they ran techroline through it to clean it out. It cost me $400. But anyway, techroline is what you need to get. And adding techroline to your gas tank is a good idea. And then here's another thing. I hate these California gas caps because they're supposed to make it where you spill less fuel, but I find trying to juggle this gas can here, and I am spilling lots of fuel, way more than, which creates more fumes than it was intended to save. And so I recommend that you can buy a kit online to convert your gas can from a California stem to the good old days where you have a little air breather hole here and regular fuel here. So I hope you make it through your emergency outage, and good luck.